Welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Pat. I'm here with the most amazing Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer. We got a great show for everybody today. Let's tell folks what we're doing today, because this is really transformative. Given all the other stuff, Mark, we've talked about the planets, it's now for the rubber to meet the road.
That's right. We are in it, and what we're in is chaos. And this is a very special episode. Facing chaos, appointed, anointed, and disappointed. And we found, Dr. Pat and I discussed this at length. We just had a new president sworn in yesterday. Not only our country, but the world is in chaos. But there's many different types of chaos. It isn't just political. It isn't just scientific. It can be internal. It can be your own surroundings. And so that's what we're going to talk about, is facing chaos. So I'm not connecting callers with loved ones in spirit today, but we are inviting people to add their conscious comments, their thoughts about chaos, the chaotic world that they're negotiating, and how they're finding tranquility in these times or any time of turbulence.
And I'll tell you where I'm coming from today. I am interested in asking you all the question, are you ready to be appointed? Do you believe you've been anointed? Are you ready to be appointed? That's what this show is about for me. And we're going to talk about chaos, what it means, and what the word has come to represent. Mark and I have different opinions, so this is going to be really the funnest show we've ever done. But my question to all of you, are you ready? Are you ready? Do you know that you've been anointed? Do you know that? Do you know there is an appointment ready for you? And you know, Mark, here's how the energy is shifting. Not too many days ago, there was a very different scene in the headlines around the world. It was a very different scene. And you can call it what you want. I'm not judging it. I'm just saying it was a different scene than we're used to seeing. We all have an opinion about this life and our freedoms, and we have the right to have them. But it was a very different scene. And I fast forwarded to yesterday, and I was struck by an anointment. When I listened to Amanda Gorman, and we're going to play some of her today, so everybody understands who I'm talking about. A 22-year-old who, like Joe Biden and myself and many others, have a speech impediment. And you can find out about what that was for her. But the anointment comes from very, very many different places for all of us. The appointment and being appointed comes from within. So today's show is to delve deep in to whether or not we are going to be catapulted, barreled downward by the fear of chaos, or as this beautiful, beautiful poet said, the hill we climb. So let's get at it. I know we've got a couple of people waiting, and I know this is our show for the full hour. I'm wondering if we should just get a caller on here and see if they've got something to say. Let's try it. Hey, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
How are you?
Good. How you be today?
Well, I would like to ask a question if I can. Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, what's your question?
Well, I had a near-death experience back in 1983, and I believe I had missing time. And so I haven't been able to recover it no matter what I've tried, hypnosis and other things. And when I went to the other side, I believe I was with God, and he told me I couldn't stay, I had to come back. But since then, I have been awakened 3 different times, and this time, instead of it being a male voice, it's been a female voice, but the same light I saw when I died. And they've given me more prophecies, more insights. Can you explain what that's been all about, and why haven't they, come back in years?
Well, it's interesting. That's a perfect question for this topic. And I can see Dr. Pat is getting excited as much as I am.
Yeah.
Because a near-death experience, a lot of people think it's going into the light with butterflies and unicorns and rainbows, but these intensely spiritual experiences can be very distressing. And Dr. Pat, our New Year's Eve show, we interviewed Nancy Evans Bush, the world's foremost expert on the distressing near-death experience. And so, Stephanie, I'm going to recommend that you look into Nancy Evans Bush and her books, because she had what we now call a hellish NDE before there was even the term near-death experience. And so these can be very unsettling. And like Dr. Pat, appointed, anointed, and disappointed. I'm hearing all 3 of those from Stephanie. What's your take?
I am. And I want to say this, and this is really, I'm so glad, Stephanie, you called in. Here's the topic to today: facing chaos. So here's what I want to say to you. Clearly, you are moving in beyond the anointed stage. You've been appointed. The problem is that the lack of clarity about what it all means and how to put it all together is what causes us to step into one foot on one side, one foot on the other, and neither one of them knows how to move forward. And so your questions on trying to understand this are beautiful. Now, Mark is going to talk a little bit about this, because I would imagine if I'm you, and I'm not, but I would imagine if I'm you, the anointment has already happened multiple times, by the way. The disappointment comes from, I don't get it. Hello, come on. Don't make me dance around trying to find out the appointed road I'm supposed to take. And yet here we are talking about it. And see, I imagine that it is so inside of you. But what we want to help you with is not taking the pathway of chaos. It's great you're facing it, but today's show is face chaos and then turn around. So Mark, what do you have to say to help Stephanie about this? Because she's asking for where do I go?
Dr. Pat, thank you. That's an excellent point. Stephanie, I had a near-death experience when I was 4. and a message came to me from the light, and it would take a whole episode just to talk about that. And that was a lot for a 4-year-old to handle. And I didn't only truly understand what it meant until a couple years ago. And so what you have to realize when dealing with these intensely spiritual and chaotic experiences is that it can take years for the full message to unfold and make sense. Now, Dr. Pat, you're a psychologist. How many people have a traumatic experience yet are able to make sense out of it, by the following Tuesday?
Only if they have had a miraculous anointment simultaneously being struck by lightning.
There you go. There you go.
But some people do. Some people, and I'll tell you what I mean, Stephanie. Some people do. Bill Wilson of the famous AA 12-step program. Dude had a spiritual awakening and his life went into a completely transformative direction. And it's possible for you. I want to give you a bit of advice from me from a helpful point of view.
Okay.
You're being tapped on the shoulders multiple times because the answer is within you. It's within you. Sometimes the answer isn't always within you. In Bill Wilson's case, sure, the answer was within him, but that wasn't the end of the road for him. Once you can stand and accept disappointment, even not knowing what it is, once you can accept that, the next step is revelation. It will be revealed to you. And I have a funny feeling things have already been revealed to you. Is that right?
Well, I was very intuitive before that, and then after that, my life just exploded with intuition. And the last prophecy, or the last time I saw the light, they showed me this huge gladiator's belt made all out of gold and diamonds, emeralds, and rubies. And they said to me, "Are you ready for the full power?" And as I was trying to answer, it pulled me out of, the state, and I woke up shaking.
Well, spiritually transformative experiences can be distressing at times. You woke up shaking because you appreciated the enormity of what was being transmitted to you. And having intuitive abilities in response to a near-death experience is a very typical phenomenon. So start looking at this as this was a very beneficial experience. And look at it this way, Stephanie, we always grow in response to adversity because everything is peaches all the time. Why would we change? Why would we strive to be better? I want to. I know we're coming up on a break, so yeah. I want to thank you for calling.
I got a comment for you, though, Mark. And this should be for Stephanie. I've done about 10,000 interviews. I can't tell you how many psychic mediums that I've talked to, and you're one of them. I don't think a single one of y'all have said, when I first had that experience, I saw rainbows and unicorns. Now, that's the way I understand the journey. I don't know if it's similar to Stephanie, but can you imagine being a young child and now everything around you is highly sensitized? I can't imagine you, Mark, or anyone else, as a matter of fact, that does what you do. As you said it to me, waking up, having a traumatic experience with that is, and then the next day, you think you're going to run for ambassador to China or something. So how do we help Stephanie be open to that process, the way that you've described in the many books that you've written?
I think that it's all part of a lengthy process. For me, it's an ongoing process. And I've written about it in my books and in the next book that I have coming out. And what you have to realize, Stephanie, is that the spiritual experiences, we're on their schedule. They're not on our schedule. Because I get a lot of people say, well, I need a spiritual experience and I want it to happen right now. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't work that way.
It took me 40 years.
Yeah, exactly. But you were ready for it. And the thing is, Stephanie, you were ready for the experiences that you had, but don't think that these are the last ones you're going to have. What I've seen is throughout my life is I'll be receiving information in a certain way, and then something happens, and then I start receiving more detailed information in other ways. And that's what's happening to you. So growth is painful. Growth is shocking.
But don't do it alone. Don't do it alone either. You know, here's the thing we didn't say to you, and I want to say it, and then we'll go to break. Mark and I, as many of these experiences we may have, I will tell you, I have got speed dial on dream interpreter people, psychic friends that could help me. I found that when I tried to figure it out alone, that's when I went down the rabbit hole. So I don't know if you have a list of people that you can go to for help on this. Getting help on this doesn't mean it's a sign of weakness. It means you're purposeful and passionate about following the path that you're meant to follow. So I would encourage you, if there are people that you could work with, that you could reach out to. I don't live a day without my team. I would encourage you to do that, Stephanie. What do you think?
And if I could, Dr. Pat, Stephanie, I would highly recommend you join IANS, the International Association of Near-Death Studies, because you are not alone.
Yeah,
I'm a speaker at many of their events, and there are many, many people that I've encountered that are going through what you're going through. And then you can talk to people who can relate, just like what Dr. Pat said. She's got, the people on speed dial. Well, when you talk to people about your near-death experience, they look at you like they've got two, you've got two heads. At IANS, they won't. Okay. And they have a lot of online chat groups where people can share their experiences. So Dr. Pat's suggestion of you seek those people, go right to the source, IANS, IANDS.org. Go ahead, become a member, and I'll bet in where you live in Colorado, there's even a local chapter.
Yeah.
So that's what I recommend. And Stephanie, thank you for calling in, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Perfect call.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Many
Check
blessings.
back with us. Let's go to a break, Jessica, Linda. Hey, everybody. We'll be right back. Facing chaos, appointed, anointed, and sometimes disappointed. We'll be right back. Yeah, everybody, welcome back. You are listening to The Psychic and the Doc. I'm the Doc. Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, is the psychic. And this is a new show, if you're wondering. I know you've heard Mark on a lot of shows, and you've heard me on a Dr. Pat show and a bunch of other shows. We decided to put our heads together to see if we can help create a better world. This is a show that deals with topics right off the headlines, as well as deeply diving into all things spiritual that most people don't want to talk about, like facing chaos in a spiritual realm, if I might say. Mark, how do we find out about you? Because right now we're going to chat a little bit, then we're going to go to the phones. We're going to get your conscious comments, and then you're going to hear what I have to say about conscious. But Mark, how do we find out about you?
I'm inviting all the listeners to go to my website, evidenceofeternity.com, just like my book, Evidence of Eternity. Please sign up for my newsletter, because every week I give updates on what the next episode of The Psychic and the Doc is going to be about. And, with chaos theory, everyone who's seen Jurassic Park, okay, and I'd be remiss if I didn't show everyone my two-headed carnosaur. Okay.
You
all right. So
just do that. Did you? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, I saw this a couple of years ago. I couldn't resist. Anyway.
I thought is that me and Linda? I bet that is. Or is that you and Rocky?
It's probably me and Rocky. It's like, oh, you snore, you've got bad breath. But but the thing is about chaos theory, it's a real thing. a chaotician. It's a form of mathematics, but it's also a form of philosophy. In the background there, see my Tesla sphere? Okay, with all it's a Tesla sphere, which is a plasma ball, and that's plasma energy zipping around, and that is an example of a closed system experiencing chaos. But with chaos theory, it is now understood that within what appears to be chaos, like that ball, there are predictable patterns, and that without chaos, there is not order. Think about it. Without the darkness, there is not the light. Without male, there is not the female. So chaos is part of the balance in the universe. And let's face it, nobody likes going through a chaotic time or chaos, because it's very unsettling. But it's our response to it that leads to order.
Well, I got to tell you, we're going to go to a clip in a minute here, in about less than that. So you have a chaos ball. I have the warrior, the anti-chaos warrior behind me, Kuan Yin. So here we go. How did we set this up? No, we didn't set it up.
And they're even in the same positions. They're off.
This is like Darth Vader. Okay. Yesterday, I cried more yesterday than I cry when I go to physical therapy about my knee replacement. I cried. I was not going to sit there all day, but I cried. I cried moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. And I'm not going to get into why I cried, because I don't understand why I cried. I cried. And then a 22-year-old woman made me bawl my eyes out. I had to get some kind of liquid eye cleaner. And I want to tell you how she started. I want you to hear how she shook the hearts of people all over the world. Now, we don't have time to play it all. I may play different parts. But when we talk about the light, listen to this.
Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one.
There you go. I will play more of this. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had to do a reflection on every word to check myself in for what I am supposed to do in the world. Now, I'm not talking about a political statement here. Yes, she did read it at the inauguration. I just want us to talk about the words from this 22-year-old young black girl, woman. She's not a girl, she's a woman. This beautiful, bronze-chested woman, as she calls herself. But today we're taking your comments. What is conscious? What is consciousness? What does it mean? What does the aspect of formulating a life that is flow, and yet the belly of the beast is chomping at you? Let's go to the phones, Miss Jessica, if we could. Yeah, Amanda Gorman, by the way.
We've got Eve calling in from Minnesota. Hold on a second.
Sure.
Now we have Eve calling from Minnesota. Eve, you're on with Psychic and the Doc.
Hi, Eve. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm
Hello?
good today. Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, I wanted to talk about chaos. I didn't have a near-death experience, but once years ago, I went to bed and I went somewhere, and it was the most beautiful place I've ever been. There's the colors I've never seen before, birds singing. It was actually the the best music I've ever heard. I mean, there was just, everything was just the best, and I was part of everything. I wasn't separated from everything, so it was actually very, very good. I don't know if it's probably not like a near death, but I wanted to tell you that I do feel very stressed out. I'm not happy with what's happened to our country. My family came here from another place, and they gave up a lot to come here, and I'm not happy. This isn't the country they came. I'm not sure this is why they came here for what we have right now. I'm so disappointed. I'm unhappy with so much. I'm worried about the vaccines. I'm worried about, I don't think they're good for us. I'm worried about the economic pressures from all the people that, including myself, that this is put on, closing businesses down and shutting people inside. This isn't natural for most people. It's hard not to be like crazy right now because all these things are stressors.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you calling from?
I mean, I want to tell you, I found no peace in that at all. So,
No,
I don't know.
no, you just described chaos, by the way. Thank you for helping us out with that.
Exactly.
Thank you. Where are you calling from?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Thank you so much. That's why we're doing this show, by the way. That's why we're doing this, because people like you, this is real, what we're going through here. This is real. I happen to live, by the way, just so you know, FYI, I live in the state of Washington. And I will tell you two things about where I live. I live in the place where I watched friends in a nursing assisted living. I don't even know what they're calling it now. But the first outbreak was here in Washington state. Today, despite the anger towards our governor from everybody, I don't care what political party you belong to, the anger was dispersed by one thing. Do you want to know what it was?
What?
Science. Somebody came out with a number we've been all asking in our state of Washington. How the bleep are we doing here, dude? We went through phase 1, we went through phase 2, we went through phase 3, we went through phase 4, then we went back to phase 3. And you know what we found out today? As hard as that is, myself and my staff are back in our offices. I didn't imagine it would happen. Today I found out, no big headlines, ain't nobody gonna read about it, that our state, Washington state, I'm from New York, by the way, so I say our state. People say you're not from here. But Washington state has the lowest cases in death per capita. Was it painful? Was it chaotic? Was I like really pissed off that the Space Needle had fake fireworks? I was. Are we done with the chaos? We're not. But between you and me, if we don't stay together, if we do not figure out how to support ourselves, how to say, I hear you, doesn't matter. I don't care what party you're from. I don't care if you vote, you don't vote. You have pain. And you must be seen and you must be heard. And that's what we're doing today with you. We really do hear you. We're not going to tell you it doesn't exist. We're not going to tell you it's phony baloney. We're not going to tell. We're not going to tell you that you came here from another country. My family came here from another country. I think when my papa came off of the, as we say, came off of the boat and stepped on New York sand, never imagined this in a million years. Give us your comment. If you had a conscious comment for the world today, I want the world to hear you.
Well, I'm in Minneapolis, so we had the fires, we had the encampments. It's just been like ugly. Everything has been ugly.
Yep.
Yep. I shouldn't say that. But actually, I've been finding good things. But I'm just saying, there's been a lot of ugly, a lot more ugly than I remember ever seeing in a long time.
I do too. I'm with
in
you.
a short period of time.
Yeah. I got to tell you something. I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask you, but I grew up in the 60s. I don't look that old, right? But I grew up in an age where I watched a friend of mine being beat to death on the streets of New York. I watched people march and be chased with knives and guns. I faced an angry mob myself. A place that I went for drinks after hours. We were all lined up. We were all frisked, taken to jail. And I thought it wouldn't get any worse than that. So I'm with you on this. But man, we can't lose faith and hope. We can't. We can't. We got to remember that all of the people pulling all of the buttons, they can't be my source today. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. But what I'm saying is this one bad thing after another is causing people to take sides against each other.
It
And
is. It's ugly.
Well,
and I don't know how you're going to fix this. This has to just like something good has to happen, and something way past better than what happened yesterday to bring. I mean, I don't want to see something bad happen to bring people together. I want to see something really like that touches everybody somehow, or at least most people, so that they just realize, somehow we can't be fighting together because we got too many other problems.
You're absolutely right. And I'll tell you what, with your permission, I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to send this clip with your advice to a lot of people, because you nailed it. We've got to put down our weapons, our literal weapons and our verbal weapons, our weapons of, mental mass destruction against each other. We're human beings. We're humanity. We have the DNA of our species. People require respect. We are humans. But you're right. Is it going to get worse before it gets better? I hope not. But I hope you keep talking about good things, because that's my life purpose. Mark?
That's so true. And what we also have to realize when we look at chaos and chaos theory, eventually it ends. And if history's taught us anything, eventually all bad times, all negativity ends. Chaos theory also teaches us that eventually the chaotic system will lead to order. On this very day, January 21st of 1793, in France, King Louis XVI was executed by guillotine. An angry, chaotic anarchy, a mob, stormed the Palace of Versailles, stormed the Bastille, arrested the king, and had him executed, and eventually his wife Marie Antoinette, and this chaos. And see, and Dr. Pat, you mentioned this just a couple weeks ago. We ourselves were on the verge of that. When I saw a scaffold erected in front of our Capitol, and I've been in the Capitol several times. I'm a member of the U.S. Supreme Court Bar and the Washington, D.C. Bar. I've been on the Senate floor, on the House floor, when I was working with a politician. That, to me, is a sacred space, to see it defiled by anarchy. Yet, within hours, order was restored. Our government was functioning. And so, Eve, what you have to realize is, even though you are caught within the cyclone, eventually the cyclone, the chaos will pass. We all wish it was right this moment, but it doesn't work that way, but it will. And that's exactly what Dr. Pat's advice for you is: keep thinking positive.
She's got
because
it. She,
she's
you know
got
what
it.
you are? You are the poster child for hope in action. When you're calling for good deeds and good things to happen and people, you are it. And boy, I'll tell you, Mark and I could have chewed up an entire hour talking about stuff. You nailed it though. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so very much. Please, please do not give up hope. And I had to buy the heaviest coat that I've ever owned because I visited the place you lived. Just saying. All right, Mark, why don't we go? Thank you so much for calling in. Why don't we go? We have a caller waiting that what? She was our guest not too long ago. So we got somebody who wants to call in. I guess they're checking up on us. Let's go hop over, shall we? Jessica?
Yeah, I don't know that we do have that caller on the line that you're referring to.
Oh,
Oh, okay. It's funny because she called me earlier and she said, "Are you giving a show about chaos? I'd
Yeah.
love to call in." I said, "Well, then call in."
You know
Is
what?
she
I'll
on
check
here?
in with our phone lady Linda and see if we've heard from her, but I don't think she's in front of me right now in the queue.
all right,
Okay.
good. All right, well, let's
See,
take
chaos
one
theory
more.
in action.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you. I mean, you know, gosh, what would happen if we actually knew what we were doing here, Mark? Well, Jessica, why don't we go to one more caller, right? Because we promised we would get some comments from people. Man, I'll tell you, that was
Sure,
man, that was
absolutely.
great.
We've got on the line. We've got Holly from North Carolina. Holly, you're on with the Psychic and the Doc.
Hi, Holly, welcome. Holly?
Now we've got her. Holly, you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to the show. You might have to turn your radio on in the back. Take it off, rather. Sorry. How are you, Holly? How can we
Yeah,
help you today?
I'm great. Chaos was I wasn't prepared enough. Didn't realize it was on KS and was looking to connect with some past loved ones. But
But
whoa,
see,
the chaos
you see, the upset is chaos, so you are ready.
You are ready.
Well, see, and
Right.
that's what chaos.
So-
Chaos. I remember my dad was a Navy SEAL, and so I was raised as always expect the unexpected. Well, the unexpected is chaos, okay, and it shows up in many forms. So Holly, what is on your mind? What is the turbulence going on in your life?
Well, there's the world turbulence, but I guess my way to react to it in a way is just, in a way, ignore it, but not get caught up in it, and kind of lead by example. I see people online bashing each other, wonderful friends that I love, and they're saying hurtful things, and I just don't get involved in it.
Yeah.
It's like that's to me that's like feeding it, and I feel like sometimes if I would share my opinion, like I'd probably lose friends the way it looks like people are treating this.
Yeah, you know, I actually did share something, and the person that, you know, is a friend of mine that posted, her last post is, "This is my point of view. I'm not going to take any comments. If you don't like it, unfriend me." So you're right about it. Not to feed the chaos.
It's just more hostility and that. And then on a personal, that maybe you guys can interject in my personal life prior to the upheaval in the world. I feel like my life has been chaos trying, I'd say probably 5-10 years now, figuring out what should I do? What should I do for work? What should I do with this? I'm all alone. All my family died. Everything's bad. And like, in my little mind, it's a little chaos thing. But yet I realize if other people would look in, they think, oh, my life is great. Oh, I wish I had what she has or this. But in my mind, I'm just spinning a figure-8 circles back and forth and not knowing what to do, not knowing what my gifts are and how to share them. And maybe you can share a little
on that.
You know, one thing you said really, really lit up with me in a good way. You said that there's all these people attacking each other, and I don't want to say anything because I'll feed into it. You know, chaos is a very hungry, ravenous, and insatiable creature, and it's always looking for people to feed into it. And, you know, and Dr. Pat and I, you know, we are big on First Amendment freedom of speech. Okay. We speak our minds, but sometimes it's better not to feed the chaos, because with some of these people, like I posted something yesterday online. I said, you know, whether you like the pilot of the plane you're on or not, do you want the pilot to crash and burn? And people immediately, oh, well, I'm getting, you know, and all these horrible things. And other people are saying that was really good. And what it showed to me is that chaos is rampant. And all these people that are emitting these negative things and attacking you and attacking other people, these are all symptoms of the chaos in our world. And you very correctly pointed out, Holly, that sometimes you just don't feed it.
Right.
Dr.
Or
Pat,
at
we
least
lose you.
for me, not feed it negatively. You know, if there's a positive way to
Well, there
do
is.
it, or, you know, but it's just getting vicious.
So here's what I want to say about what you just shared with us. The action you took by not acting is positive, because an action to hurt another being simply is this: it hurts another being. You know, one person right doesn't always make the other person wrong. But at some time, we become, like you just shared, we become faced with the place of consciousness that many of us never thought we'd have inside of us. And so thank you for sharing that. And thank you for really knowing so well who you are.
Great. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you for calling in. Did you know that chaos was the first created being, who was also created from the primeval deities of Gaia?
Ah, very interesting.
Yeah, that's it. And so isn't that interesting that something so controversial, chaos is quite controversial. And here's what I say about chaos. Many people will discover what chaos is for themselves along the way. But to come up with a universal definition is almost impossible. If you take a mom, like my mom, at 12 years old, who's faced with a husband 20 years older than her, and gives birth to her first child and then a second one, right? That's a form of chaos that enters into your life. But that's a traumatic scenario. In my mom's case, she was just living her life. That's what you do when you grow up back then in the Deep South. That's just normal. When we look at it and say, whoa, what? When Mama looked at it, she looked at it like, man, I didn't want to get to be 15 without a husband. Of course, she changed her perspective on that. But in the end, we've got to find calm. We've got to find harmony and flow. I don't believe in balance. I think it is an illusion for a lot of us. But harmony, it's what we heard today, isn't it, Mark?
It is. And I have a question for you, Dr. Pat. Mm-hmm. With chaos, do you believe that we can control chaos, or that we have to let it run its course?
I think we can dissipate it in a minute.
Okay. And do we do that through our positive mindset, or by taking a step back and saying, wait, this is, see, because I think the central issue here is control. Chaos is the loss of control.
Yep.
And what do we hear? I hear this as a medium quite a bit, that especially in grief, people are devastated because you have no control over the fact someone you love has died. And as a psychologist, how many times have you heard people distraught, upset because they have no control over their lives? And that is because of chaos, whether it's grief or whether it's a residual of a bad childhood or some type of trauma.
Mhm.
Those are all different forms of chaos. That's why, when we were promoting this show, we were saying chaos is everywhere. It isn't just the mob that beheaded Louis the 16th or the one that desecrated our Capitol. It is the internal turmoil. It is losing your job. It is the uncertainty of this pandemic. These are all forms of chaos.
You know who my mentor was?
Who?
Viktor Frankl.
No kidding.
So I want to talk about this. Maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I'm a little one-sided. But what I learned from and if you all have not read this book, all of y'all listening or calling to the show, please look up Viktor Emil Frankl, Frankl. An Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, read it. The day that somebody handed me the book, Man's Search for Meaning, it changed my whole perspective on chaos. And it changed my whole perspective on the power we have. This is a man who watched everything in his life be stripped from him, who ended up in Auschwitz. So you can only imagine my reaction to the T-shirts I was watching in the news.
Yes.
But this is this man, and he was in the most horrific, chaotic, no control except for one. That is the control of our own attitudes, of our own mind, and what we do with that. And that is how to dissipate chaos. That's how to do it. It isn't just a mind game. It's a complete energy cycle of how we carry ourselves. And yet we don't compromise our beliefs. We don't compromise who we are. We just don't let it run our lives. He's also a man that, despite what he went through, survived it and came out the other side and took action. So you see, we think sometimes, especially in the world you and I live in, Mark, we think sometimes we're all one, love and light. That's it. But sometimes it's so much more than that. It's so much more than saying the words. It's like our caller said, all of them. You have to be the word. You have to show up like that. You have to be that person that transcends the Nazi regime of literally executing and incinerating people because of a religious belief, because of a color, because of what they think. So man's search for meaning is at the core of all of us.
It is. And that search for meaning is the journey through chaos. It's really so fascinating to give the uncertainty, the negativity, the adversity in our lives a name. And that name is chaos. Because, it all comes down to trying to control this. Mm-hmm. When someone you love, like when I watched my father die an inch at a time from cancer, and here I'm watching this, he was Navy SEAL, NASA engineer, the bravest man I ever knew. When I was a little kid, it's like, daddy, I always felt safe when daddy was around, and then there was nothing I could do. And I remember my brother and my sister and I, and we were so angry at the cancer because the cancer was the chaos. And so these are things which permeate and fill our lives, and we can't control them, but that doesn't mean we ourselves lose control, because in that chaos, losing control is when you give into it. And that is what I think you were saying, Dr. Pat, how we can dissipate chaos in an instant through our mindset.
Well, here's what it is. Control is an illusion. There's only one thing we control. That is that which is within us. That's
Yes.
it. That's what we can control. That's it. We can't control somebody driving down the street, hitting us with a car. We can't control, maybe an airline pilot that drank too much. I don't know anybody like that. So I got to take that back. I have a lot of friends in the airline industry. No, we can't. We can't control to a point what happens at the Capitol or what happens in an election or doesn't. The last time I remember losing my sense of this when it came to a inauguration, the last time I remember doing that. And I remember it was like yesterday, and they were showing pictures of like bent chads from a voter punch thing, the Chad thing. And that was the last time I was reminded of what Viktor Frankl said. Pat, you placed your vote. It's over. That's the end of the story. You don't control the rest, but it doesn't mean we don't have a say. So this show isn't about crawling away or denying who we are and what we believe in. It's about stepping forward in the highest level of consciousness and respect for each other and still making our point. And we're going to end the show, Mark, with that, with the way we started it, thanks to Amanda Gorman. I thank you for the
Super.
show. It was great. How do people find out about you? I don't know. When's the book coming?
I'll have more
Okay.
information on that. It's coming. So I'm not at liberty to discuss, but yes. But everyone, I invite you to sign up for my website. Go to my website and sign up for my newsletter on my website, evidenceofeternity.com. And you can book a reading with me, find out about my books and my upcoming book. That's www.evidenceofeternity.com. And Dr. Pat, I think fit at closing this show with a quote from Amanda Gorman is so appropriate.
I love it. Jessica, it's all you.
Children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the windswept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade of flame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Now that is the antidote to chaos.
That it is.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jessica.